Pyaar Plus presents a video by Reshma Valliappan, an artist, activist, educator, and author who does a deep dive into labels, particularly her own experiences with them.
So, labels and relationships are quite a funny thing, if you ask me, because I've grown up having imaginary friends as long as I remember. It's just that as a kid, you don't know that having imaginary friends is something you're not supposed to have. And who decides this? Another human being. So, I grew up never really thinking there was something wrong with me. I grew up thinking everything is actually normal and I'm just going through regular life until one fine day I turned into an adult and it didn't seem okay for me to converse with the people that I was and have been conversing my entire life. And therefore came a label called paranoid schizophrenia. Um, I find labels to be completely damaging in this nature. Apart from other people, where labels are necessary in order for them to understand what they're experiencing, to deal with the symptoms that they probably have, to make them understand themselves even better at a very personal and political level. I find schizophrenia to be far more damaging than something that enables me to understand myself. This I can also say even until this very minute, this very day, when it was not too long a week back when I simply wanted to have a child, and out of a discussion with a group of people, I was told by somebody else that somebody like me should not bring a child into this world for the basic reality that I shouldn't create another mini version of myself who will not be so lucky in a world that does not accept them. So the problem here isn't really me. The problem isn't really the label, right? Because the only labels I actually like are the ones that I wear on my clothes. The labels that we have are for who? The labels that we have are not for animals to understand us or for the plants to understand us. The labels that we have are basically for other humans who decide who is better than the other, who is more abled on this planet, and who contributes better to it. In subject of mental illness, not even mental health, having lived with my condition for more than 25 years, um, and reached the levels where I have come to see that more often than my label, the stigma that comes with it still exists. Something like schizophrenia, far more than depression and a lot more other labels, if I need to make a comparison, still carries that stigma until today. Now, the problem here is this stigma is not carried by people who are in the uneducated zone. This stigma is created by people who are actually in the educated field of life, because these are the people who think they know better than the other person. So, what do I do in this regard? How do I cope with my label that I really have no choice? In fact, I've owned my label to such an extent that I call myself the schizophrenist. Not a schizophrenic, not an adjective. I claim my identity because nobody else will be able to claim that identity apart from me. Whether the world is to reject me or not, the world has already rejected me. What am I to lose actually when I've also lost my sanity multiple counts, multiple times? I've lost my entire youth. I have absolutely no clue what's it like to be 20 to 30 years old. I only got my life back after I turned 30. So, what I actually do is to remind myself that, in fact, a lot of people on this planet who have contributed to one of the best of fields, from Isaac Newton to Albert Einstein's son to John Nash, countless numerous individuals who have contributed extensively to the well being of um, every single thought out there have actually been people with lived experiences of what you might call to be schizophrenia or psychosis. And nobody questions them, but people celebrate them after they are dead. And what I always advocate for is celebrate yourself, celebrate myself. And when the worst comes to it, what I have truly learned is to never depend on another person. I don't call it self-reliance. I call it I just call it independent thinking, because that's what schizophrenia means, that it is so uncertain. Yet at the same time, I have a firm belief of something that everybody else calls to be a delusion. And this firmness in my faith of who I am and what I stand for is what keeps me going. So when I'm down in the dumps and the labels get the better of me, I do what I do best. I search for myself. I look up interviews that I've given. I look at videos I have gone over and I have given. I look at my own talks and I have to find myself back through it all. Because at the end of the day, it does not matter what label you have. I consider them just roles. I consider them hats. We all have multiple hats, multiple roles to play. And on a planet like ours, our roles will get questioned at every single time. So the best thing to do is to always remind yourself about who you are, what you stand for. When you have self-doubt, find your tribe, find your community of people who are just as you are, who accept you for who you are, and actually get what it is like to be who you are. And they become your reminders. We all need a reminder for who we stand for, right? Whatever your label be.
This video ends with two logos on a yellow background. The first one is a pink heart and a plus sign and has Pyaar Plus written underneath. And the second one is a green and black eye and has point of view written next to it.